Good evening. The City Council Local Redevelopment Authority Board meetings are now in session. Today is Tuesday, February 13th, 2024. It is 6 p.m. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing.
Let's pray. Father, Lord, we just once again are so grateful and thankful for this opportunity to gather together in the chambers. Lord, I believe that all of us in this room, Lord, have the same feeling when it comes to our city, Riverbank, and that we do love Riverbank. And so I'm just praying that tonight, as we conduct business, Lord, we honor this platform to be able to discuss and share, Lord, our concerns and how we feel, and knowing that, Lord, it's not a negative reception, but Lord, it's just the opportunity to express ourselves, and that, Lord, when decisions are made, that we move together, Lord, in unity, supporting one another, making this place the best place to live in California. We turn this over to you right now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe.
Here.
Councilmember Hernandez. Here. Councilmember Barbara Martinez.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jones Cruz.
Here.
Mayor O'Brien.
Here. There will be no changes to the agenda. Any council authority member or staff who has direct conflict of interest on any scheduled agenda item to be considered is to declare the conflict at this time. Seeing none, we'll move forward.
Excuse me, Councilmember Barbara Martinez.
I waited.
I'm sorry, I have a conflict of interest on item 11.2.
Thank you. All right, we'll proceed to presentations. Presentation by Dr. Constantino Aguilar, Superintendent of Riverbank Unified School District. Sir, good evening.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to discuss the Cardozo Middle School project and some of its implications with Measure N and possibility of a new bond that we will go after in November. So here I'd like to begin with the schematics of this project. As you know, Cardozo Middle School has been in the town of Riverbank for a very, very long time. And as we were doing and beginning some of this work and some of this demolition work started, there have been rumors that we might find gold. So we are next to that river, so I'm hopeful that there's maybe some nuggets or boulders of gold.
Would you tell us if you found gold?
No.
Absolutely. We would have a Taj Mahal of a school district here with, yeah, absolutely. So, but in all seriousness, you know, something very interesting as we began this project and the demolition and the excavation of this old building began, there is an old basement that was found that was not anywhere in the plans, and it's still unexplainable what it really is. But it was a 20 by 20 foot, and we're going to call it a basement with very thick walls and cement that, well, what we would consider cement looked very, very different. So anyway, some of those things that you find. So again, I jokingly say that, hey, we might find gold. We found a basement. So anyhow, this is what the front of the Cardozo Middle School will look like upon completion. So you'll see it is markedly different than what we had there before. I want to point out that one of the major projects, other than demolishing this entire building, is in front of the old Cardozo Middle School. We had these huge transformer boxes right smack in the middle of the school. So that has been really a big aspect of this project, and a rather costly one, to reroute all the electricity from that front of the school to the back. But this again is what Cardozo will look like. If you see the marquee there, there is an eagle on the top which will be illuminated, and once illuminated you'll be able to see it from 108. So I think that'll be a great landmark And it will really add to what the city of Riverbank is doing with the revitalization of Main Street. And we're just working our way all the way down to Cardozo. So the project will look really, really nice. So here, what you'll see is our buildings in red. So the previous building that you see, they're split in two, the right and the left. So if you look at this red map, you now have 6 classrooms that will be completely redone. With on the right-hand side there of the red buildings, you have boys and girls restrooms. And then on the other side of those boys and girls restrooms, on the other side of the building there, you will have a workroom. On the left side is where you will find the new attendance area, workroom, principal's office, vice principal's office, which will be, again, completely redone. So the plans were approved in June. Project was funded by a bond that was passed in 2005. We will, by creating this space, there's a much more secure area for our students. Obviously, aesthetically, it's much more pleasing to the eye than what we currently had. And there is one additional classroom that will be added to this project. So one more classroom than what we had before. If you really want to get into the technicalities of the plans, here's what they are. Again, as I mentioned, on the right-hand side, you'll see a girls and boys restroom. On right below it, you'll see a staff restroom or staff workroom, along with the custodial and electrical closet and the classrooms there. On the left-hand side, you see a little bit more in detail what the administration building is gonna look like. The interim housing was delivered in September. So if you're driving down 108, you will see portable classrooms. There are 6. So students that were in that front of that school are now being housed in the back in the portables. All of that move was made over the winter break. So students started the new semester in January in those portables. And that interim housing will be there until 2025. So it's an extensive project, and it'll take some time for us to complete. On the very back, as you go down 108, there is now going to be a new parking area for staff. As you know, as you're going down Santa Fe, we have had to park in front of residents and in front of the school, and it creates a real conundrum, if you would, as at the end of the school is parents are trying to pick up, and in the morning as we're dropping off students. So by having a parking structure in the back will alleviate a lot of the traffic congestion in the front. Also, with this parking structure, there is a solar project that we have embarked on district-wide. Here at Cardozo Middle School, for example, where this parking structure will go, it will be completely covered with solar panels. So it will provide shade for those that park there, but then also obviously electricity. The negative to this, and I say this publicly because I know our people here in Riverbank really, really appreciate the historical landmarks, but there are some really old trees along where this new parking lot is going to be. And those trees will have to come down, unfortunately, because of the solar that is going in. So, but again, that parking structure in the back will provide some ample room for all of our staff and relieve some of that congestion in the front of school.
Any plans on replacing those trees in different locations or anything, or just new trees?
Yeah, we won't be replanting trees anywhere around the solar panels, obviously, because it will block the solar and the sun. But we're looking at planting trees along the fence line, along the backside. So the project bid went out in 8/23/23. CT Brayton out of Escalon ended up being awarded that bid. The maximum price for this came back here in the spring. So one of my tasks as a new superintendent, as I was onboarding in April, as this project was going out for bid, it was projected to be at anywhere between 12 to 13 million. Well, as we know, inflation and construction costs and everything else, when it finally went out to bid in the fall, it came back over $2 million over budget, what we had projected. So one of my first responsibilities was, go find $2 million to finish this project. So Therein lies the reauthorization of Measure N, which I'll talk about here at the
Or the gold.
or with gold. You see where I'm going with that. This is what Cardozo Middle School looked like before we demolished it. And we had a really nice opportunity to work with our local fire department so that they can do training exercises prior to demolishing it. So a lot went into demolishing it. It wasn't just a matter of, hey, let's go in and knock it down. The architects went in and really studied the structures. Some of the old wood that was found in those buildings was absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. I mean, it was heartbreaking that we had to tear it down because of you know, the beauty of the wood. But anyway, here's some of the photos of the training exercises that our fire department is able to do. So with this, I'll conclude. Because the project was went over budget, again, as I mentioned, I had to find a little bit over $2 million as I was coming in as a new superintendent. Well, what we did is we spoke with our financial advisor, Del Scott out of San Francisco, Del Scott Financial Advisors, and we're able to reauthorize money from the old bond from 2005. I will spare you the details, but in a nutshell, what we did in 2005 was passed a bond. So the voters passed it. We sold the bonds, you know, to do some projects. Well, then the housing market in 2008 crashed, which in essence meant all the taxpayers were at the threshold of what we can ask for assessed value to be taxed, which is $60 on every $100,000 of assessed value. So we had to wait, pay off some of that bond. Well, we're now in a position to where we've paid down some of that bond. And we can reauthorize the rest of that money, which is roughly around $2.1 million. So on March 5th, we're going to ask voters here in Riverbank to reauthorize an old bond, in essence saying we want access to the rest of that $2.1 million so that we can finish this project. With all that also happening, we're also looking at potentially going out for a new bond in November. We're working again with Del Scott and company. They're currently surveying the Riverbank community to see the viability of going out for a bond. We will get that report in March. It will be a public report that would be made at our March board meeting. And if not March, the following month, where we will get the you know, the report, and our board will make a decision as to the feasibility of going out for a bond. Approximately, I don't have a hard number, but we would be looking at anywhere between $20 to $30 million in a bond for November. And the primary use for that new bond would be for the Riverbank High School and California Avenue. We have portables at Riverbank High School, numerous that have been there since 1990s. So we're looking at removing those and putting in permanent classrooms or new modular type buildings as an example of what we would use that money for.
Are there any questions, comments? Anyone from the public have a question for the doctor? Sir, thank you very much. And you guys are doing a great job. Thank you. At this time, members of the public may comment on any item not appearing on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council LRA Board. Individual comments will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and time cannot be yielded to another person. Under state law, matters presented during public comment cannot be discussed or acted upon. Public comment, please.
It's good to see all of you again. Is that better? My name is Karen Conrado. I live on Hogue Road. I'm here to let you know that I oppose approval of the Riverbank project. I know you've heard these arguments before. They're as legitimate as they were before. It will destroy 1,000 acres of world-class prime agricultural land. Riparian habitat and the wildlife that live there will be damaged. The aquifer and groundwater will be at risk, as well as surrounding wells in the area. Riverbank does not need the 3,300 homes or businesses at this time. There is already adequate land within Riverbank's borders that, if used wisely, would be more than sufficient for future growth. There are many legitimate obstacles to this project, including cost, to your residents of the infrastructure needs such as water, sewer, roads and traffic, emergency services such as fire, police, and ambulance. The list goes on. I hope that you very seriously consider all of the consequences, the damaging, unable to reverse damages that occur if you approve this project. Thank you for your time.
Hello, everybody. Kent Mitchell, resident of Riverbank. And I've spoken with you before about Riverwalk, but now it's for the official records now that the EIR has come out. So that's why I'm back. And those concerned about Riverwalk point out the land proposed for urbanization is the top tier of quality soils in the world with available water. It's especially well suited to groundwater recharge through irrigation. What's the logic really of paving concrete on the best soils with water recharge when there's available land for development that doesn't have the best soils? I think this project is a definition of urban sprawl. Riverwalk is largely an age-restricted development to provide housing to residents 55 and older. What Stanislaus County needs is affordable housing for families that have been priced out of the housing market. And this development does nothing to meet those needs. We don't need additional housing for affluent retirees, largely from the Bay Area. With Riverwalk, there are questions about the suitability and the proposed sanitary sewer system, along with water quality and availability. And with constricted access to the site from McHenry, Coffee, Patterson, and Hogue Roads, current residents are very alarmed about the prospect of major transportation issues. Now, with my remaining time, I'd like to talk briefly about the Urban Limit Initiative, which you guys are very familiar, did not quite reach the level of signatures. We needed about 1270. We got almost 200 more than that. We thought there was easy enough padding. Turns out that there were 300 or so invalid signatures, and an analysis of the signatures indicates some incompetence, possible malfeasance from some of the paid signature gatherers. So I'm pointing that out to let you know it's not because we couldn't get enough signatures. We certainly could have. Okay, and there is enough. As somebody that walked and canvassed my neighborhood in River Heights, I can tell you that there are 4 or 5 people that they were in favor of the project. I wasn't going to sign. That's fine, but the overwhelming majority of people were against the Riverwalk project, and I wanted to let the city council and mayor know that. Thank you.
Next, please.
Hi, my name is Giselle Pritchard, and I've been a resident of Riverbank since 1998. Like the other commenters before me, I am also concerned of the pending Riverwalk development, as it will increase traffic and make other unwanted changes to the quality of life for the residents of Riverbank and the surrounding area. That said, my main concern is the impact on the water and sewer bills for myself and the people in Riverbank. In 1999, our water bill was $28.66. Our sewer bill was $20. Our most recent water bill was $79.22, and our most recent sewer bill was $116.78. Sewer rates have increased almost 600%. And I assume that substantial portion of this increase is due to development. I don't believe that existing residents should bear the burden of additional massive increases caused by the Riverwalk development. Thank you.
you. Next, please.
Hi, my name is Elaine Gorman. I live on Crawford Road, just down the street a bit. And the proposed Riverwalk development, I believe, would strongly impact the neighborhood that I live in. And with increased traffic, construction, congestion, decreased air quality, and just all that's going to happen with increased population in that part of, I guess, future Riverbank. And I'm a member of the Sierra Club. I'm a life member, and I belong to the local Yokuts group of the Sierra Club here in Stanislaus County. And part of our mission statement is to preserve, protect, and advocate for the environment, and that would include paving over prime agricultural land. And I also help gather signatures against this proposed development. And yeah, it's very unfortunate that it was deemed that some of those signatures were not valid. And I know that the draft EIR is out, and the Sierra Club will be presenting comments to oppose this position. And we just hope that the city council and everybody involved will consider all the impacts on our area. Thank you.
Next, please.
Hi, my name is Jeff Olson, and my wife's here, Sandy. We've lived in Riverbank since 1987, raised our family here, and we don't intend on going anywhere. We love Riverbank, but we don't believe the Riverwalk development is appropriate, and we like to see that prime farmland preserved and not used for the development that's intended. Thank you.
Else?
Amy Yeager, 7730 McHenry Avenue, outside the city of Riverbank, but within the proposed Riverwalk development. I don't know if you're going to cut us off, because I know you like to limit us to 9 minutes total time if we're speaking about Riverwalk. But I just wanted to say, I appreciate all the support that's here tonight, and it's very encouraging to me. And it's unfortunate that we didn't get enough signatures. It was due to one unscrupulous paid signature gatherer. And I'm encouraged by what I see tonight, and we're going to come back even stronger. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move forward. Thank you all. I'm sure we will see each other. We move on to the consent calendar consisting of waived readings. 9.2, approval of the City Council and Local Redevelopment Authority Board minutes of January 23, 2024. Item 9.3, approval of Parks and Recreation Department to apply for the National Park Service Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program. Item 9.4, authorization of out-of-state travel requests to have finance staff attend the Caswell training in Provo, Utah. Do we have any comments? Anyone wanting to make a consideration?
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent calendar as stated.
And I'll second.
We have a motion to approve and a second on the consent calendar. Roll call.
Councilmember Uribe?
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Yes.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones Cruz?
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien?
Yes.
Items passed 5-0.
Item 11.1, a resolution establishing a Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee in the city of Riverbank.
Mayor and Council, Michael Patton, our Director of Parks and Recreation, will be providing the report for tonight.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Like last time, I would like to claim this as a Parks and Recreation meeting where I have a couple items here. So hopefully you weren't too tired of me last time to deal with me this time. At our last city council meeting, I presented on the Parks and Recreation Board for the city of Riverbank. We went over the benefits of having one, kind of the process going behind it, and why it's needed here in Riverbank. At that time, we asked you as council members and mayor to provide feedback and input. So as we develop the parameters of this committee, we can do so with your ideas and thoughts and how we can best suit City of Riverbank. With one of them being changing the name to an advisory committee. We took that into account. So we are presenting the City of Riverbank Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. So it's a quick overview with my presentation. With the committee, we have 3 documents that will help formulate what the committee is. The first one is the bylaws. The bylaws will help provide structure to this committee. Will give us a guidance on how committee members are selected, their roles, their purposes, their timelines, how long they can serve. So if they are selected, they're not in this group forever and ever and ever, and they can never leave. With that, we have an application process on those that participate in this committee, how we're going to decide who is best suited to help us out. That gives information on their residents, their interest, why they're interested, how can they help us out. And then we have an onboarding list. So once a committee member gets selected, they're not just there not knowing what to do. Hopefully give an idea of, a welcoming, kind of give an instruction on what to do so that they can hit the ground running. So I'm not going to go over every single detail in the bylaws and the application and in our onboarding. I'm going to hit kind of the highlights here. The bylaws do comply with city code. The city does have a part of their code that talks about boards and advisory committees. And so this committee will fall directly in line with city code. Ideally, the committee will meet monthly. We were looking at consisting of 5 voting members, and they must be a Riverbank resident and a registered voter per the city code. It's a volunteer position, no compensation. We're looking to promote community diversity, including geographic representation, age, gender, expertise. I think at the last council meeting when we discussed this idea, one of the things that were brought up were possibly have a representative from each district be part of the committee. We are ideally looking for individuals that want to be involved, want to serve the city of Riverbank, and have an interest in parks and recreation. But yet again, we want to make sure we have a great representation of all those that live here in the city. And so when we go through these applications, we want to make sure we have individuals that are best suited to help serve not only the direction that the Parks and Recreation Department wants to go, but also serve the residents. They will serve staggered 3-year terms and under the authority of the city council or city council mayor and council appoint and remove members. So it's not Michael and his staff selecting committee members and we're picking and choosing. Ultimately, it'll be up to you as council to decide who fills these roles and positions. With the application process, we're going to ask some personal information like name, address, email, phone number, your qualifications and experience, and your interest of being on the committee. We had a resident ask us over the week, do they need to have parks and recreation experience? No, we are looking for those that can fill a need that we are missing. So for example, we have maybe a grandma that has lots of grandkids that go to the parks. We want something like, hey, we want to get that perspective from the senior population plus the younger generation. And we can notice that we're missing that in our group. We may view that as value. We had another community member that asked, does knowing the history of Riverbank count as qualifications? Yes, it does. Knowing the history of the parks, the backstory behind them is very valuable for someone that's only been here for 2 months, knowing what's been going on in the past. So as far as qualification experience, we're not just looking for, do you have a degree in parks and recreation? We have plenty of staff that have that already. And then again, the interest of being in the committee, we want someone that, again, their intentions to be here and serving. We don't want someone here to just have a political agenda and make things be a bottleneck for the work that we're trying to do. We ask for their availability. We want to make sure we have references, make sure that we have someone that we can work with. We have additional information that they can provide if they feel like they want to. And we have the application already in English and Spanish. If we have approval for this committee, we'll have everything else in English and Spanish as well. And the onboarding list, we have an introduction, welcoming everyone into the committee, outlining key responsibilities. Again, we don't want volunteers to not know what they're doing. I think that's the worst because that's how you lose interest in being involved with these kinds of groups. We provide different resources and support, code of conduct, and kind of next steps of, hey, welcome here, let's hit the ground running. With that being said, I'd like to answer any questions that you may have as council.
Are there any questions of Mike?
I have a question. Can you explain the staggered terms that someone would serve? It was kind of a little bit confusing for me.
Yeah, so when we first started committee, we can't have everyone start at 3-year terms because then everyone's 3 years hits, everyone's leaving. So we want to have it staggered, so we at least have a quorum or group of people that are going to be there consistently. So usually when we start this out, we have staggered out. So we might have someone that do a 1 year, and then the next person be a 2 year, and a few others that have 3 years. So after 1 year of this committee being established, we're having someone replace them, so we're having it staggered out. So it's that one new person comes in, they will do a 3-year term. Then once the next year comes, the next person that leaves, we'll have a new person come that does a 3-year term. I like to also note that once you do a 3-year term, it doesn't mean you're done. It's kind of like city council. If you want to rerun or reapply, you're more than happy to. So if there's someone that's really passionate and has a lot of projects they want to be involved in, they can reapply and be reevaluated. So the staggering is just making sure, ensuring that we have a quorum at all times instead of just, once 3-year hits, all 5 are gone and we're back to square one.
More question. The application will be online.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm assuming those initial picks, that'll be just kind of a random draw, right? Between the 5 for the first initial, the 1 year, the 2 and the 3s.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Before approving the resolution, I think we've, the subject of diversity is resonating, through the bylaws and through our conversations. So I think it'd be important to add that as part of the resolution, because I don't see that listed in there.
Not that this has to be included, but one of your best committees consisted of teenagers for the teen center. So don't forget those who cannot vote yet, but are very interested, at least in an advisory. They raised the fundings, if I'm not mistaken, and they were able to get it constructed. And don't forget the people who will be using it more than anyone else. But
Thank you for that point, Mayor. And I chatted with one of you council members this past weekend. As I think I mentioned before, I love partnerships and committees, and I'm gonna, I just love that kind of function. And so one of the things that we want to hopefully do with this Parks and Rec committee is get this on the ground running. And if we prove a proof of concept that this is beneficial and good for the community, we have other committees that we want to create as well, ideally with like either a youth city council or a teen committee, advisory committee. And so, yes, we would love to have teen input as a mentee kind of a thing, get involved with city government. But we do have future plans for teen specific committee groups to get involved with the city of Riverbank.
Sorry, could you talk through the communication for the applications? I think it'd be great, especially with the school district being represented here today.
Yeah, so ideally, our main goal is to make sure that everyone that has interest knows and hears about this and has the opportunity to apply. So being able to communicate this out to the community so that they are aware of this is vital for us. We as a Parks and Recreation Department will use our key resources that we normally use to spread the word for like our events, our programs. However, we do realize that outreach is not 100% or able to reach 100% of the residents. So we'd love to work with the superintendent on trying to get the community involved and work with other stakeholders, nonprofit groups to have them help us spread the word. Again, the focus of this is to get the community together. We're very confident that other groups will have an interest on helping us get the word out. I'm not sure if that answers your question, Rachel.
right, do we have any public input on this? Do we have any public input online?
There's no one wishing to comment online.
Okay, thank you. I bring it back for consideration.
I'll make a motion to, did you want to say something, Constantino?
I just wanted to really quickly, if we want to make the motion to include the language about diversity, we can refer back to ensuring that item 2.3 of the committee bylaws is stated as one of the recitals or whereas in the resolution, so we can make that change.
I'll make a motion to approve item 11.1 with the amendment to 2.3 bylaws.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve with the amendment to 2.3 and a second. Roll call, please. We didn't say that yet.
Okay.
That can be a future change if we find that we have a stronger teen representation than old people.
Okay, Councilmember Uribe,
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Yes.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Well, thank you. Item 11.2, a discussion for the park space for the tiny home village located near the intersection of Stanislaus Street and Jackson Avenue. And Councilmember Barbara Martinez is recusing herself for this.
Well, welcome again, council. Yeah, I've been here for 2 months. This project has been going on for my time. So hopefully staff here that know a better history of it can help me out. But back in, we'll start off, we're going to be talking about the tiny home village right there at Jackson and Stanislaus. The city, to my knowledge, has grant money to build transitional homes in this 2-acre property that the city owns. And the council put out the city put out an RFP to have transitional homes developed, but also with that neighborhood lacking park space to include a park in that region. And so we will, with this presentation, we're hoping to get guidance and feedback from council on how they want to pursue the park space with the RFP, having very minimal detail on their vision for that. So kind of get in the background, an RFP was issued on June 26th of 2023 to construct transitional housing and open park space in about 2.08 acre property that the city owns. For those that may not be aware, it's pretty close to behind Galaxy Theater. We have a conceptual design of the property, which we're going to show, which is pretty small, but hopefully we can zoom in on some items. This is one of the designs that I came up with the property. It has about estimated about 23 to 26 transitional homes and a small park that you can see at the bottom south of the picture in a red box. That property is about 0.12 acres. To give you kind of perspective, if you grab the Plaza del Rio that's right out here, cut it in half, that's about the estimated size we're looking at. With this park size, the way that it is, as a park recreation staff look at it, it is too small for the intended service of it. The master plan for the city that has been approved by the city council back in 2020 recommends that for every 1 acre of park space can serve up to 1,500 residents. With 0.12, that's about an estimated serving about, I think last I checked was about 180 residents. So with about this space is perfect for the residents that are going to be living in this development right here. But if the city council has the intention of it having serving multiple neighborhoods and surrounding area, this park does become too small to service. And I want to tag along too, with that being part of the general plan, that is also national recommendation as well. So if you talk to the National Recreation Park Association, they will provide a similar recommendation. The issues of that will lead to overcrowding, lack of opportunity for physical activity. With so little space, you can't really do a whole lot in there. It does have a limited capacity for social gatherings. It does increase short and long-term maintenance and upkeep. So we do have limited park staff that have 16 different parks they service throughout town. Adding another one that is small does not mean we do less service out there, because we do the same amount of service and quality work we have to do out there. But again, as with limited staff, we are draining resources from other places. As a Parks Recreation Department, we do have some recommendations. Again, we were trying to seek feedback and guidance from you as council. Number one is continue with the design of limited park space at about 0.12 acres. We can try and make something work, but we are aware that once this park does get done, one of the first places we're going to hear is it's too small. We do recommend also a larger size space dedicated to park development. This will help us kind of get closer to where we have enough space to eliminate those issues. The issue you're coming across is you are eliminating transitional housing. With that being said, too, yeah, go from there. The other option is forego the addition of the park and collect park and lieu fees instead. The benefit, or one of the things you'll get there is you'll have a little bit more transitional housing built, but then you won't have a park in that neighborhood or that general region of the city. So that's kind of the negative there. And we'd love to have a discussion with council and kind of answering questions. And I'd like to point out that we do have football staff here and that can help answer questions as well.
We have it's not a park. It's a green space, sort of, near the 7th Street along the river, which is, what, about 200 yards from where that housing is?
7th Street is on this side of the city. So are you
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
Topeka?
Which one am I thinking? Hutchinson.
Yeah, that's Hutchison Park.
Okay, that's
That is,
that's
yeah,
further
that is
away.
for most significantly, yes.
Okay, so is there any green space or any spaces around this facility? Everyone deserves to have a green space.
Yeah, to my knowledge, Mayor, again, I'm going to use the excuse I'm green still. Maybe have some staff help me out a little bit. But to my knowledge, there is not anything in that direct area.
There is no publicly owned green space in that area. We do not have landscape and lighting districts in that area that would provide for green space. There is some green space next to the nursing home, but it is privately owned. It is not owned by the city of Riverbank. And the reason why we want to bring this discussion to the city council and not simply make a staff decision is the city council did allocate funds for a public park at this location through our ARPA funds. So that reflected council's priorities for that particular area and the need for a park space in that area. On the other hand, we have been making great strides towards all of the efforts that the city council has put forward for our homeless population. So the transitional housing just will add to that particular aspect and that goal. So both projects are extremely important to us and help to satisfy our strategic plan goals that have been set forth by the city council. But we also understand that there's limitations to both. And so it really comes down to what is council's priority at this time. The park space would be wonderful, but given the limitation of the size, may not be feasible at this point in time. Transitional housing is just as important, but we also want to give those residents an opportunity for a location to be able to have some outdoor space, given the limited.
There's 22 housing units that I saw in your plat. Okay, now how many more would that give us if we decided not to? I mean, there's still turnarounds and there's still, other.
Yeah, if I don't mind asking Brad to come up here, he's the more well versed in this now.
Answer your question. It's a
He's
couple
Brad Helen, by the way, from Modesto. Go ahead.
from Modesto, but I love Riverbank.
I know that, but you have to say it. You have to say who you
Oh,
are.
I'm Brad Hahn from Modesto.
Okay,
Local
there.
citizen volunteer. We can add a couple units only, but what it really does for us is it creates an internal green space for our project. It's not going to be affected, not going to help out for the region, but and it's very difficult for us to have those two things coexist in such a small space. And so what it does is that we could add a couple units in space on our side of the fence, and there would be some on this side, but very small. And this came about because we met with the city staff and we got through, and by the way, they've been wonderful to work with. I'm not sure you always get to hear that, but they've been wonderful to work with all the way down to the fire department. And this just came up as that it just didn't look like it fit very well. And I understand that you guys had said that we wanted to extend to have a park, and I agree, but probably a larger space to do it right, I guess is kind of what we're thinking. And we brought up the idea of us, you know, because we always trying to get out of fees, right, on our side. But we think we'd love to participate in having, be a part of a park that's going to service the neighborhood kind of in a better way, to purchase the land or whatever that you guys decide with it. But it really only adds two units, but it does make ours much more functional because we have a lot more common space, and we're able to face the units to and kind of create a little village in there. So that's a long answer. I got it.
Am I understanding correctly? Is there a prospect for an alternative? Because honestly, I don't want to err on the side of sacrificing for this
There
part
is
of the
not.
city.
There is not a prospect. Like I said, that particular green space is pretty long and may not accommodate a park space. It's privately owned. It may not want to be sold. So we don't have an alternative. Really, that's why we looked at having a park in that location, because the land had been vacant for so long. It just seemed like it might be a good park space, but now it is sort of infringing on our ability to really make it a usable park space with that size.
Yeah. 3 points, Miguel Galvez, contract city planner. 3 points. Number one, there is a public open space, and that's the Real Alturas Elementary School. They do have play fields and things like that. Those often are used by the residents in the weekends and the evenings. There's always an opportunity to enter into some type of agreement with the school district for the public use of their facilities, but by and large, that space is available. Second point, from a planning perspective, the policy documents that the city has are two. One is the general plan, and it's open space. Actually, the public services and facility element, which does identify standards for parks and things like that. The other policy document we have, which Michael referenced to, is the Parks Master Plan, which was recently adopted in 2020. And in there's 4 criteria for mini parks. It says successful mini parks have 4 key qualities. They're accessible, allow people to engage in activities, are comfortable spaces and inviting, and are social places. So that gives you some ideas. In terms of the type of activities, it's a really small place, and there really isn't much opportunities to provide activities. The last thing I want to touch upon is this will be a development application that the Planning Commission will be reviewing, and that's the architectural site plan review application. And when the Planning Commission considers this, one of the things that we would look at is, in any multifamily project, is private open space. We usually require, whether it's apartment complexes or single families, to provide private open space. That means that within that complex, there'll be a place for them to congregate. And so there's that opportunity to do that. And speaking with the designer, Brad Hahn, it would make, I'm thinking about the best word, more efficient use if you kind of put the park in the middle. I shouldn't say park, but the open space in the middle, so the residents have an opportunity to go there, and they kind of have eyes on the park. People can see who's there, so it's more social, it's more interacting. And I think it would be, I don't want to say precedent setting, but it'd be something to consider. Other multifamily projects come in and say, you know what, we'll do a mini park, but if we can hold to that it can be a private open space, meaning it's open to the residents, or that would be ideal, would be a win-win. They're served, and then the park and lieu fees can be paid to make improvements on existing parks or to purchase additional land. Thank you for your time.
Questions?
Just a quick question, if you don't mind. The mini parks that you referenced, was there any standards as far as size?
No, it says from 0.1 to 1.5 acres. There's no standards, but really it should be practical. It should be usable, because I think that's when they envision bathroom facilities and picnic tables. That's going to be additional maintenance costs and things like that. But those 4 qualities that I mentioned are the ones that are helpful in deciding whether or not it makes sense to have that facility there.
Yeah, I have a comment here. I would hate to not have some green space in there. I would hate to see them not having some sort of space, grass, and not necessarily a park. You know, I can't imagine putting some play equipment on that size. So why do we still think about having play equipment there instead of just having green space, like kind of what you were talking about in the park over there? Feel pretty strongly about that. Also feel pretty strongly about having it fenced off and having it private. I think for that particular neighborhood, having green space in there is pretty important, even if it is a small space. And also, I don't think Real Altura, they kind of have some issues with public using their, they don't want dogs being walked on it. They don't want the grass walked on. I just know coming from a school district that that's not really what they want. So thinking that we can use the Real Altura play fields is probably not going to be a go. So there we go.
I'll just make a quick couple comments. So I'm actually looking forward to working with Brad Hahn. We've known each other for years. So I'm very excited about this project. My only concern is I would like to see it open to the community, so definitely not fenced off. I would like to see the properties on the left or the right converted into park space. We did make this a priority for this spot back when Cal Campbell was on the dais. I think it says a lot about what your parks look like and what's available to the residents. So I'm leaning towards increasing it from a 0.1 to, I think that's a little too small. If we can get it to about a 1/4 acre, I think that'll be manageable.
Okay. Anyone from the public wishing to give guidance? Because this goes before the planning commission.
To clarify, there's a logistical issue here that if that is a public park, we're gonna want to fence off the park because we don't want public going onto our space for reasons of, these are 18 to 23 foster kids, and we want to keep we want to create an environment for them to be able to be safe and taken care of. So whatever we come up with is going to have a fence around it so that our folks, or so that the public can't come onto our property without any anything to deter them from just walking into the middle of the site, because the whole site is going to have a fence around and gates and such like that so that we can create that environment for the
So regardless of which way we kind of go, there's going to be a gate, whether it's on the bottom right corner or if it cuts through there, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be a gate
Because
regardless.
just think of it, if a family comes and wants to goof around, or a bunch of kids want to come and goof around on the city park, which that's what it's for, we're probably not going to, we aren't going to want that to be that our folks can just walk out and use and do that, because it's going to create a lot of problems with people coming from the outside, especially because it's 18 to 23. I think that makes a difference.
So my next question would be the dog park. Can you bring it down a little bit? So this kind of clientele, are we expecting them to have and need the dog park? Because it's usually not a clientele that has pets.
Well, if you go down, we have a pet run area because we want to have it so that folks can have a dog and still be in this function. But that's really our only green area except for this part. And like was mentioned earlier, the plan would be to if it was our park for the residents only, we would move that up into the center of the units and create a little bit more of a common area in between them. Instead, we've kind of jammed them in there, as you can see. But the trade-off is always going to be number of units versus size of park, because it's only so big. So, and that's your guys, that's why you get paid the big bucks to come up with these things.
I have a comment. It's okay. My name's Randy, 3126 Stanislaus, but I just was wondering if, and I'm sure that these minds, which are great, have already done this, but if he mentioned that the park could only he could get 2 units in there. So I was just wondering about putting the 2 units at the top, but then sacrificing the units on the bottom so the park would be longer on the bottom if that would create more space for a park.
You'd have 23 by 25. And I think what we're looking for is transitional housing.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Staff. This location right here just doesn't have the parking that we would need to be able to enjoy a park for gathering. Most parks are used for gathering for the community, for the public. And as you can see, there may be some street parking because it's kind of like on the corner. But other than that, I don't see any parking that would be feasible for this location here. And that was my only thing I wanted to point out about this.
Any other public comment? Do we have any online?
There's nobody online wishing to speak.
Any final thoughts from the council before they take it back to planning?
If I can just make a quick comment, if we were looking to keep some green space there, I think we would have to give up some amenities. So it's either we make it all green space and that's it, because having equipment there to maintain would probably take up the majority of the green space and make it less usable. We certainly wouldn't be able to have restrooms and gazebos there because it would just take up the entire space. And there really wouldn't be an area to have families get together and have their children play. So if we wanted to go ahead and keep the park, then I think that's what council needs to discuss, is what amenities are you willing to give up in order to have that space there?
Well, the individuals that we're targeting, 18 to 22, most likely will not have small children. Maybe they will as they get old. I'm not saying they can't have small children, but most likely would not. That's one. And if you keep it all green, and because you can't get anything else on there, that's still half the size of across the street. And there's not much green that you could get in there. If you could get 2 more units, that could take 2 more people off the streets. And there's a lot that are being left behind in the foster care system. So priorities. I would like to see it green. I'd like to have it all. But I'd like to have it where we're taking care of the citizens. And I do know it's a total package, but this does not give ourselves the total package. But again, it'll go back before the Planning Commission. Go ahead, Luis, you have something to say.
So I think we can have both. I think we can have the transitional to help those that are in need. So if we go from the 22 units to the 18, we still have the 18 units, and then we have a park that the community can share, because the residents around that area do have kids and don't have a park to access at the moment. So, so as far as amenities, I would say let's drop 4 of the units there at the bottom right. Still have 18 units to help others, and then it benefits the community having a park there.
You want 4 units eliminated? Additional?
So going from the 20, if I heard correctly, the
25
22.
to 21?
So just the bottom 4, whatever that total number is, creating that park space there for the community.
To throw in a third opinion, I don't want to sacrifice green space for this part of the city. I mean, we're seeing growth in the rest of the city, and I think, we need to focus having spaces for, districts 1 and 2 and that part of the city. So I don't think, taking away housing or homes, but, rather making it work with a small space that's there.
Could you say again how many people it would service at the current configuration? It could service according to the parks.
Yeah, so the recommendation is 1 acre per 1,500 users. And so with it being 0.12, you're looking at about 180 total users, not all 180 at once, 180 in total. And so if you're looking at just that transitional housing, those that are living in this housing, it's a great space for them. But the intended purpose of the goal is to serve not only this development, but the surrounding developments. We're now going into competing with, I lost my train of thought right there, but.
Pardon?
Could I answer?
Yeah, go ahead. And also, yeah, who is it?
Hello? Yes, hello?
And so okay, are we also giving up security? Is that what you guys want? The gate, the fence around it?
No, the fence stays, it's just
So
rewrapped, it's rewrapped, it's just wrapped through the property around the park, that's it, the gate stays. So the security's still there, it's just wrapping through the, just around the park, that's all. So the security stays there.
Each one of the units is gonna have 4 people in them, not one person. So that's 16. I have an idea. What if we as part of the project, go find a piece of property somewhere in this region and figure out how to work that into this project and get both? Because, I mean, we want the green space too. But to put it in here is just, honestly, from my perspective, it's shoehorned in and we're not gonna get what we all want. So if we're willing to go out and find a piece of land and possibly purchase that in lieu of our in lieu fee type thing, so that we keep the ball going down the road and the private people are buying the park and then we would deed it over to the city. I think we could get it at a better price. It's an idea that if we could pull this off, it might get both things going.
I think that would be great. I think right now it wasn't a matter of priorities, it's just struggling with, where those funds would go, if they would stay for this area, then move fees, and how that would look going forward for providing the space for this part of the city. So I think that's
the idea of finding a spot would be definitely in this local region, yeah.
So just for the record, in lieu fees do have to be used within a certain distance from the development that has paid for those. So they would stay within that region.
Any other questions, comments? All right, hey, Brad, thank you very much. And Michael, thank you. Miguel? So do we have enough for the planning commission to get confused?
Unfortunately, we do, because we
Okay,
do
good.
have about 4 different opinions that we've provided and not a lot of consensus.
Right.
So,
I'd be interested
I-
if we could get some land in the area that we could have developed as a park. Brad, good comments on that. Go ahead, answer it.
Hello? Hello?
yes, we can hear you.
May I ask a question?
Go right ahead.
Okay, I just had a question regarding the park. If it's gonna be just for that development, those tiny houses, it's gonna be gated, fenced off? If it's just gonna be gated, fenced off for them to use, then it wouldn't be considered a city park like the rest of our parks are, because they're all open to everybody. So under the current ordinance, since the taxpayers are paying for those city parks, they're open to everybody, would you have to amend the ordinance then, or would who's ever running this thing, they would pay for the maintenance for the park?
So if it is a city park, then it would be maintained by the city. If it ends up being green space for the development itself, then the developer would pay for those maintenance fees.
All right. Thank you all for that. We're going to continue on to item 12.1. Step. What? Do we need her?
Yes.
Randy, what do you mean? Oh, somebody, I'm sorry. My peripheral vision. She fell asleep. Sorry, Darlene, I started talking without you. Yes. Item 12.1, staff comments.
So all city offices will be closed on Monday, the 19th for President's Holiday. At the February 20th meeting, the Planning Commission will be holding a workshop regarding the housing element update that the city is currently working on. The presentation will focus on the process for the update with future community meetings to be held. And on February 27th, the City Council will receive a presentation regarding the release of the draft Environmental Impact Report, or EIR, and specific plan for the proposed Riverwalk project. The meeting's going to be held at the Riverbank Community Center and will be accessible via Zoom and YouTube as well. And the draft EIR is in its 45-day review period. So on February 27th, you will not be considering the project. You will just be receiving an informational presentation. The EIR and the specific plan can be accessed on the city's website via the link that's on the homepage. And comments are being requested to be submitted in writing so that we make sure that we have those as part of the record and can be evaluated by the environmental consultant for any potential updates to the EIR before being released as a final version. And that is all from staff. Yes, unfortunately, because it is at the community center, we don't have the same audio visual accessibility that we do have here at the council chambers. So we will be taking comments in person and in writing prior to the city council meeting only. So we will not be able to take those via Zoom. And we will have an interpreter there for those that are Spanish speaking, and the presentation will be translated into Spanish beforehand for those residents who do attend.
Thank you. Councilmember Hernandez.
So this last Friday, we unveiled a sister city sign that's right below the sign that shows Riverbank and the population. It's symbolism of our partnership with Tamazula and our sister city in China. And it's pretty exciting to see. So it's the one we unveiled is over on the corner of Patterson, where the light up sign is, the digital sign is. There is a Friends of Jacob Myers Park meeting next week. And I just wanted to wish everyone a happy Lunar New Year.
Councilmember Uribe.
Thank you, Mayor. So our next Riverbank meeting will be this Friday. So we are seeking input from the community for any kind of new upcoming projects. So please reach out to me, 719-9255 for those watching on online. Shout out to our sponsors because they're helping make this possible. Shout out to the committee for all the work that they're doing. And just finally, looking forward to the Saturday's event. Thanks, Michael, for this new event that we're doing for the Valentine's My Little One and Me. The little dinner dance. If you haven't heard about it, please join us. My daughter's already bought her dress. She's excited. So I'll see you guys there.
Thank you. Councilmember Barbara Martinez.
I attended the reception for the new president of MJC, and I was trying to advocate for the students at Riverbank High School. Reminder about the Riverbank Chamber of Commerce, the 70th anniversary celebration on February 23rd, which is a Friday, and will be at the Antigua Event Center. And I also attended the small city appointment for the council member from Los Banos who renewed her participation in the San Joaquin Valley Special City Selection Committee. And Outstanding Women of Stanislaus County 2024. There will be a brunch on March the 9th at Green's Restaurant in Modesto. And as everyone knows, February is the Black History Month. And the 2024 theme is African Americans and the Arts. The theme focuses on the many impacts Black Americans have had or on the visual arts, music, cultural movements, and more. There are Black History museums that give an exceptional experience to anyone visiting, and I encourage everyone to get out and experience it and for yourself. And that's it. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
I have nothing for this evening. Thanks.
I attended a conference where we was talking about a lot of the opportunities for low-income housing and how to get the funding. The state is stagnant in the way they disperse the funds. And if you notice, we have applied and we haven't received it. One of the items that are floating around for you who are involved with the California League of Cities is bringing back the RDA. The RDA was a very good tool to use for affordable housing, and it can be used in any part of the city. And as we're doing developments, whether it's Crossroads West or any other future developments, those properties could be put into an RDA. The property taxes would not come to the city, but would help fund the affordable housing. I believe that is a very, very good one. For some of you who are advocating throughout the county, cap-tie is one of the big issues for us funding any of our transportation infrastructure. I'm going to be pushing for a climate action plan for the county to be run by or initiated by StanCog, the county, and for all the cities. We all have to do it. So if we do it together, A, it's cheaper, B, it's more comprehensive, and C, more clout as you're going out for the infrastructure funding. So that is something, if you can take a look at the cap-tie from Caltrans, and also StanCog's letter to Caltrans, I think you be very educated on how we're isolated on that. With that, I'm done. So we'll move on to item 13, liability claim pursuant to Government Code Section 54961. Claimant Esther Schaffer, agency claimed against the city of Riverbank. With that, anyone wanting to make a comment can comment on this item for a period of no more than 3 minutes prior to us going into closed session. Do we have any public comment? We shall adjourn. We return from closed session to report on item 13.1. Liability claim pursuant to Government Code Section 54961. Claimant Esther Schaefer, agency claim against the city of Riverbank. No reportable, nope. Okay, we voted unanimously to deny the claim. With that, our next regular city council meeting will be on February 27th at the community center at 6 p.m. This meeting is now adjourned.